obviously I'm Black, right?
Didn't notice.
Right. But like the way that we're raised, especially being from the South, there is this way of doing things. There's a way that
I'm from
kids,
Mississippi.
See what I'm saying? Like kids aren't supposed to say certain things to certain people. There's this hierarchy.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's mass ignorance that's involved. And what happened to me over time was that my confidence was being chipped away and chipped away and chipped away because I'm disrespectful. I'm too like all these negative
connotations.
Connotations that were attached to just who I truly am, my nature, and it took a long time for me to recognize that I am worthy to be all of those things. Like God called me to be that, right? I am the mouthpiece.
That's right.
Not everyone is going to step up and say what
Come
like,
on.
well, isn't that?
Yes,
They're not going to step
That's
up
true.
and say what needs to be
That's
said,
right.
but
That's
there
right.
are specific people who have been ordained to actually say what needs to be said.
Wow.
And I happen to be one of them.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Aspire Higher Podcast with Charles and Yvana Bailey. We're so glad that you're back. In fact, we're more than excited, and we say that sincerely because we have a very special guest in the house with us. And I won't tell you too much about her just yet, but before we do that, I want to tell you now, if you hadn't heard, go back, listen to our last episode because there's so much information in that, it will change your life. But of course, we make that promise. So thank you for hanging with us. Please like, subscribe, share, and tell your friends that we're live and find us on Instagram. You'll see right on the screen all of our links, and we appreciate you being with us. Now, to our guests.
Woohoo!
We have one of the most electrifying business lawyers. She is literally the protector of athletes. She works in sports and entertainment as well. Yep. And she is a former athlete. So great story. I'm going to set this up really greatly. So Sivonnia and I connected probably a few months ago, and we found a very commonality in our businesses and our models and what we wanted to do because we have an interest in helping athletes and professionals in business and sport. And then, she's in IP and in legal terms, she's like one of the best to do what she does. So we connected. Come to find out, she was my wife's teammate. Ran at the same university. Had no clue until they saw each other here in the set. So welcome. Without further ado, Miss Sivonnia Debarros.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for having me. And that was an amazing intro. Amazing.
Well, we're glad that you're here. So you made the trip all the way down from Chicagoland.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, talk a little bit real quick about that because you barely made it here.
I did almost barely make it here. Yeah, so there's a blizzard that's coming.
They call it a bomb storm.
Really?
Yeah, it's how the United States is with the news.
He always knows random
I'm still a
information.
Florida girl, so that lingo is like over my head. But
yeah.
But yeah, blizzard was coming, and so my husband, he said, "Listen, you're gonna have to take the flight the day before." And then it got so bad. He said, "No, I think you're gonna have to go a few days ahead of time." Yes, it was crazy. I literally woke up one day and finished packing, got my kid, and we literally went to the
Oh my God.
1, 2, 3.
Well, at least you're here. We're glad you made it safe.
I'm
not sure if you're going to be able to make it back home. Now, by the time our audience watches this, you probably would have made it back.
Home.
But anyway, so Yvana and I just got back. We traveled.
Oh, yes.
Tell a little bit about that real quick.
Oh, it was phenomenal. We went to Europe, and we were actually there while the World Cup was happening.
Yeah.
So the Netherlands was there. It was amazing, actually. And then we went over to Africa and did a little tour there. But it was phenomenal to see communities, villages, cultures unite and be for one cause, So in athletics, we ran track and field. And to see the world come together for soccer, football, it was amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'm proud of all of us because we look back and we're talking about athletic connections, but look at who we are.
I know.
Look at who we've become.
Yep.
Look at who we help. Look at the lives we touch and change through our professions.
Yeah.
So just wanted to say that because I'm proud of us. And thanks for being here.
Too.
So we do have some questions. And I figured, do you want to open up with the first question? Or
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So with your story, what has led you into the field that you serve in?
Yeah.
Man, listen. Okay, you guys know that, well, I think you know this.
Yeah.
But in my mind and in my heart, I truly believe that God gifts all of us with our own unique gifts.
Absolutely.
Like we all have a particular assignment. Now it's up to us to listen to that assignment or not. But, you know, if you do, there are some things that just happen. Like, for instance, me sitting here in this room with you guys, you know? So from the age of 4, I vocalized that I wanted to be an attorney.
Wow.
And I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I wanted to be an attorney. But when I look back over the characteristics that I possessed, even as a child, I'm like, it makes sense, you know, because I was always that bossy little child. Oh, gosh,
we know
you
about
know, that mouthy, you know, the mouthy one.
Yep.
Some adults will be like, oh, well, she's too grown or she's disrespectful. But it was, wonderful. People they could not appreciate the truth that was being spilled out of a baby's mouth.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I realized years later, God gave me that.
Right.
And it was only just through, you know, the course of growing up and kind of figuring out what is being an attorney all about, that it really did fit with who I am as a person, as an individual, and for my purpose. So it was just something I've always wanted to do. It didn't matter I'm very multifaceted in terms of talent. It didn't matter what talent I possessed or whatever interest I had. Being an attorney was always the first one.
Wow.
And I just always made sure every goal that I had, it involved that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing because our audience is familiar with our book, The Flight of Your Life, The Power of Propulsion, of course, available everywhere books are sold. I didn't mention yet, but Sivonnia is also an author, published author.
Yes.
And we'll talk more about her books as well because you want to grab those. But in our book, we have this concept of whispers in the wind.
I love
and what you just talked about was exactly what we discussed a few episodes back prior, is that growing up, sometimes people will speak against the thing that is your unique gifting.
Right.
And what you have to do is not internalize it as an insult, but see it externally as that's a compliment and an encouragement to who you're really meant to be. Because it's not what people are saying, it's what they're not saying.
Right.
They're saying to you, oh, she's bossy, look at her mouth, oh, she talks like an adult. What they're saying is that you're gifted with oration.
That's right.
You're gifted to lead. You're gifted to take people's cases into your hands and then make something wonderful out of it. So I'm glad that you knew that.
Yeah.
And that's how you know. So we're saying that for you.
I didn't know it initially, though.
Oh, okay. Talk
you know
about
what I'm saying?
that.
Because coming from, obviously I'm Black, right?
Didn't notice.
Right. But, you know, like the way that we're raised, especially being from the South, there is this way of doing things. There's a way that
I'm from
kids,
Mississippi.
See what I'm saying? Like kids aren't supposed to say certain things to certain people. There's this hierarchy.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's mass ignorance that's involved. And what happened to me over time was that my confidence was being chipped away and chipped away and chipped away because I'm disrespectful, I'm too like all these negative
connotations.
Connotations that were attached to just who I truly am, my nature, you know. And it took a long time for me to recognize that I am worthy to be all of those things. Like God called me to be that. Right, I am the mouthpiece.
That's right.
You know, not everyone is gonna step up and say what.
Come
like,
on,
they're not gonna step up and say what needs to be said.
Right.
But there are specific people who have been ordained to actually say what needs to be said, and I happen to be one of them.
All right now,
but I'm telling you, like, making sure that you have the right people around you is essential, not only to professional growth but personal growth. And one of my aunties, we're like sisters. We're very close in age. But she would tell me years, Sivonnia, you're golden. You're golden. You're meant for this. I'm like, girl, what? Wait, I don't know what that means. Like, I hear what you're saying, and thank you for that. But it took a long time for it to click.
To sit on the inside of you.
That's right.
Yes. Wow. And for me to be able to claim that and not care at all what people thought about it.
Right.
That's wonderful. Well, I love that story.
Me too.
Well, then that's kind of a good segue into the next question because that sounds like a challenge and a struggle you've had to overcome. But I'm sure in your profession or even over the course of your development, there are other challenges that you had to face.
Absolutely.
What's some of the hardest, as far as you're willing to talk, challenges you've had to overcome? But I really want to get to something a little deeper than that, right? Not just what you overcome, but what is it that those things fueled? How have you used them to empower others? Because it's one thing to be powerful, and to own your own power and possess it. But a lot of people don't realize it's never meant for us.
That's true. Oh, that's a deep question, y'all. Let me segue it by saying this. One of the other and bigger challenges that I've had to face was being the only one in the room.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And there's so many African American people or people of color who tend to be the only one in the room. And sometimes we will not give credence to the fact that we're there in that spot and that we actually belong there, but we will see it from an inferior standpoint of, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here.
Right.
You know, like it's the wrong thing, and it's not. And you will see how people treat you. Like, prime example, in law school, the only Black woman, I think I was the only Black person, period, in this class. And it was estates and trust. And one time I raised my hand to answer a question. And my peers was like, oh, dang, she actually smart.
Wow.
Now you guys want to talk to me. Now you have questions for me. Now you want me to be about, I'm not interested. You know, but even then I did not recognize my own worth. And so when you talk about how am I channeling or helping other people, you know, with the struggles that I've had, as a child and having my confidence chipped away over and over again, of course, by people who love me, but was too ignorant to recognize, you know, the wrongdoing. And then going into different levels of life and professionalism and still feeling like I didn't belong. There's that deep work that you have to do as an individual.
That's right.
And so when I serve my community as an attorney, I'm serving a lot of young Black and brown individuals, you know, and I have to tell them, like, listen, you still have to do the work. And so I'm not just, it's not a transactional thing for me.
Okay,
like, we have to have that conversation. What is it that's keeping you from taking the action that you need to take to get you to your next level? Because sometimes it may not be that you don't have the money. We can find the money.
We can find the money.
We can make the money.
Yes.
You know, but it's something in our minds and it's in our hearts. Like, it's been so
Our
ingrained.
subconscious.
Like, we've literally have adopted these inferior mindsets from other people. And it's time that we just like shed that off, like let it go, leave it, bury it where it needs to be. So we can actually live into that divine purpose that we all have.
I think that's so wonderful. And in your profession, you obviously take that and you're empowering people to build. What are some of the things specifically that you do, that you tell them, this is what you need to be thinking? This may be some steps that you need to be taking. Can you talk in terms of that?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Registering your business.
Okay.
Registering a trademark. Yes, little things. Because one thing I love about our community and especially about myself. So God was a creator. I am such a creator. You know, I see things, I can fit it together in my mind. I have created written books, you know, created brands. You guys have done the same. So as a people, we were put on this earth to create, you know, to evolve, right? And so one of the biggest things I see our folks doing is like, you're making all these beautiful things and you're leaving it open to attack for anyone to have. How can you want better for your great-grandchildren, right? If you're not doing what needs to be done in the moment to protect those things, you know? And so that's how I serve through the law, but also having those conversations. I think a lot of people recognize legacy, but they don't really know the words behind it. You know, we typically don't know our forefathers because they didn't leave us. I want to curse, but you know, kind of talk about God, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, when people don't leave us anything, you don't even know who they are. If you look at our European brothers and sisters, most of them can trace their families back to like the 1600s.
Sure.
We can only trace ours back, of course, because of some other issues.
Of course.
But we can only trace ours back, what, maybe 1800s?
Late 1800s.
Yeah. And so if you want to be that person to change the trajectory of your family, you want your great-grands to know who you are, it is time to start acting like a real business person, like protecting the things that we are creating, that are assets, that can be worth something. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not getting paid right now. Is it worth something, right? And it also goes back to that mindset. Just because that green paper ain't coming right now doesn't mean that there's no value.
That is not valuable.
Yes.
That's right.
Wow.
And we understand that from athletics.
Yes.
You don't see the prize immediately. You don't even feel the prize immediately, but you do your grind. You practice. You make sure that you set things in stone so that when it does come, you're ready.
Exactly.
You're ready.
Exactly.
And I love that because you are equipping generations. It's not just good enough to equip the people around you. You're reaching for legacy. And I love that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. And one of the things you said that was really incredible was the value of believing that you belong.
Yes.
In our book, we talk about that. And you said two things. not just that you have to believe that you belong, which I want to discuss briefly, but the fact that you said you need to have the right people around you that believe that not only that you belong, but that they belong. Because what many people also mess up on is we have those circles that we're so connected to. They don't believe that they belong.
Right.
So the only thing they can do is support the notion that you don't either.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how good your heart is and what you're trying to achieve and thinking legacy.
That's right.
But if they can't see it for themselves, they definitely can't help you see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But one of the things I wanted to say about believing that you belong is I love how you're telling yourself and you're giving our audience an understanding of it's okay for you to take up space.
Absolutely.
You were made to take up space. In
Gotta
fact,
preach.
it's your space.
Right.
It's your
Right.
space. In our book, I tell this funny story. I'll never forget this. I was flying. I don't remember where I was going to. And for whatever reason, I was flying main cabin, but I thought that I would be able to get some space. There was a gentleman in a row. He had 3 seats to himself. I didn't need an upgrade. It was no problem. It was a last minute flight. And I said to the stewardess or the flight attendant, I know they don't like to be called stewardesses. And I said, ma'am, when the flight takes off and we get into cruising, do you mind if I take that seat? She goes, well, let's wait till we taxi and take off. And then, of course, we'll politely go ahead and ask him to move over so you can have the edge seat. So we go in the air. We see the seats available. She walks me over to him from my seat all the way to the front where he's laying. And she says, sir, I hate to bother you, but would you mind please sitting up so that I can seat this other guest because there's space available? He goes, no. He says, this is mine. I bought all the seats. And he literally, I lie to you not, took that pillow, took that doggone blanket, laid himself right back down and went to sleep. And that's how sincere we have to be about us believing that we belong.
That's right.
And that's what you give through your services. You're not just a lawyer. You're like, honey, sir, this is your moment. This is your time. So is there a particular case that you can recall where you really had to help someone do some deep diving that wasn't just in the legal sense before they can move forward in owning their IP and trademarking, et cetera?
So I've definitely had those things in the transactional space. One of the cases that I think speaks deeper to that question is a breach of contract that I argued before a 12-man jury. And this was an elderly couple who had to sue their friends because they had previously agreed with the friend that they would finance a previous litigation, a previous case for this friend, and they reneged on them. My clients ended up putting a second mortgage on their home. Once you tally all the expenses, I think they had spent over $170,000. Wow. Yes. But the friend was only indebted to them for a third of that because they were fine. Yeah, but it was still a lot of money. Sure. We ultimately won the case, but still that's, there's that conversation around who you are willing to go the distance for. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because people will say they with you, they got you.
Oh, yes.
But when it's time to really pay up, you know what I'm saying? Like figuratively or literally, sure. Are they really there? Are they truly your friends? Right. And it's unfortunate because it's a different position of what we're seeing now with the younger athletes and younger business owners. Sure. But you're talking about older people who have worked their lives, worked so long, had a retirement, spent that, house paid off. Now you got another mortgage on your home, trying to help someone who you truly love. And what was the mistake? Not doing what you need to do, not protecting your interests from the jump. And that's one thing that I share with young athletes as well. Now that we're in this name, image, and likeness space.
Talk about that, because a lot of our audience, they're not familiar.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, name, image, and likeness is a intellectual property right. Okay. It's your ability to only own your name, your image, and your likeness. So you write a book, right? Or you draw some pictures. Maybe I want to create something that looks like Charles. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It's your likeness.
It would sell at a very high value.
Oh my gosh.
Listen at him.
He's full of confidence.
Right, exactly. I love it. I love it. But you can protect that. And I don't think that people recognize that those are assets that you possess that you can protect right now, even in a contractual matter. Okay. You can protect that right now in your contracts. Okay. But most people don't go and talk to an attorney because What is it? I don't have the money,
Right.
or I don't have the time for that, or some
Right.
people just too lazy.
Now, I'll ask you
course,
that
absolutely.
because we have our audiences, particularly, we know for a fact that we have many professional athletes that watch our show that are well connected and they love the information we give. But I want you to speak to them because I know for a fact that some of them have never taken to their lawyer or their team to protect themselves. Because you hear it now, the NIL, it typically, people think about the young athletes that are getting these deals in college.
It still impacts professional athletes too.
That's what I'm trying to say. So please talk about that from either perspective.
Well, the only difference is name, image, and likeness. The name itself, it's only associated with collegiate athletes.
Okay.
Right?
Because
there are certain rules that have to be in place for student athletes to monetize their own celebrity.
Okay.
Right.
But you as an individual, as a professional athlete, as a former professional athlete, still have and possess name, image, and likeness. It's your own personal or professional brand. Right. And so if you're not protecting that, i.e. through trademark registration, if you've written things or created certain things that might need to be registered through copyright, do you need a business to eliminate some of the tax burden personally on you?
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Do you need a business to minimize liability from someone who's saying that now you've injured them or you've done something wrong to them as it relates to your brand? And now they want to sue you. These are all ways to really put a shield around yourself, around your brand, around your personal assets, and around your business assets. But a lot of people don't get this until it's too late.
Of course.
I'll give you a quick story. I wish I could have helped this professional athlete. I believe he's still playing, but this is a contract example.
Okay.
This individual thought that he was investing in two pieces of business, like dispensary, a cannabis dispensary, and I think land to put the dispensary on. Once it's all said and done, it was over, I want to say maybe over $350,000 that had been invested. And he came to me and he said, well, I don't know what's going on with my money. We're dealing with multiple individuals who are in multiple states, and I believe the property was situated in Michigan. Okay. Now, here's a problem. I say, well, where's the contract? He sends me the contract, but guess what? It's not executed. Executed meaning is not signed at all, right?
Okay.
And so with the law, there are certain things that have to be in writing for it to be enforceable. Okay, now he might be able to move on a fraud claim or some other things to support that, but he does not have an underlying breach of contract claim. Okay, that the price is too high for it not to be in writing, for it to be an oral contract.
Of course.
And it's a contract for land. Right? It has to be in writing. And so those are just like some examples.
Yes.
You know,
Of course.
I've heard about people saying individuals are like buying up kids' names, like trademarks or their website, web domains, because they know they're going to probably go pro or they're going to be fired. And then guess what? Then they're going to sell it back to the kid at a premium.
$4 million because they own that.
That's right.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
All you got to do is go ahead and trademark your name. You're using your name already.
That's true.
Just trademark your name.
But see, I don't think anyone knew that they needed to trademark their name because we living in a society where we're like, well, this is my name.
Right.
But you have to think about yourself as a brand. And I hope that you're hearing that. This is not just professional athletes, excuse me, but also our business owners, our entrepreneurs, our leaders in business. You may have this. I mean, we're not going to assume that you don't know this, but it's worth you going back to your team or contacting Miss Sivonnia because she's an expert in this and she has clients that she's helped own and regain control of their image and their likeness. But what if someone were to use your name, buy a website or do something with your name and you're like, but it's my name. You may have trademarks and patents on everything else except your personal intellectual property. And that's the one thing that she's helped us to really, really hone in on over the last few months as we've had conversations.
And I'll tell you this too. There's I represent a business owner who has a very lucrative clothing brand. It's over $1 million brand that this person has built. And there are people who's copying his designs, you know, but having counsel on board, it's easier. It helps you to be able to operate your business while someone else can handle handle with the aggravation and the foolishness. You know what I mean? Like you're taking somebody else's stuff. Like don't even play. Because you're gonna use a different name. It's still his brand.
It's the same one.
Thank you. But I mean, that's just one of the benefits of having counsel, period. You know, we're not out here just to work. I was telling my sister the other day, I said, it is asinine to me for us to continuously work this hard when we are so intelligent, we are so creative, we are so capable. Like, I don't intend for my child to have to work this hard. I don't intend for my grandchildren, my great grands to work this hard, because I'm already working hard. I'm working hard enough for all of us. You know, and so this is one of the ways that we can ease that pain and that work for our future generations. Own what you own.
That's right.
Like, register your own stuff.
That's
man.
right.
You know, because even if you don't want it, your kids may not want your business, but I tell you one thing, they can definitely make some residual income on the books, on the brand.
Right. Yes. Everything you've already set up for them.
Because you can lease it to people.
Yeah,
you don't have to sell it. You can just lease it.
That's
license
right.
it. Yeah.
So for our audience, can you label that again? What are the steps that they can maximize their impact with everything that you just said?
Yes.
Ooh, what are the steps they can maximize their impact professionally?
Yes.
Okay. One, I would say, recognize who you are.
Perfect.
Because that's at the center of your brand.
That's right.
Right? If people don't know who you are, they don't know what they're getting, they're really not going to want to deal with you personally or professionally.
And that's where we
So
help.
that is right. That
absolutely.
is a huge step. Know who you are. Make sure your brand is aligned with that.
Right.
2, who are the people that are around you?
Okay.
There is a author. She's a former athlete as well. She spoke at my NIL Combine this year. And one of the things she said that stuck with me so deeply was, if you were in a theater and this was your own theater, who would you put in the front row? I was like, okay, that's kind of deep.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Because we have given people front row seats.
Yeah.
They don't deserve
They deserve it.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
They don't deserve it.
That's right.
They've been there the entire time, taking up the space that we need to be taking up, right? But we can't even see our own greatness because they're overshadowing that.
Oh, yeah.
So figure out who's in your front
theater,
row.
But you in the back.
Right. Put them in the back. Put them in the nose, please.
Or don't put them in at all.
Right. Don't
Some
put them
people
in
don't
at all.
belong. Yes.
Right. Exactly. So brand.
Yes.
Who's in your circle, your front row. Okay. That's number 2. Then recognize what are the assets that you already possess.
Okay.
When I say assets, because I don't want to get too
Yes,
technical
break
for
that down.
people, right?
Absolutely.
So assets, like, what are the things that you actually own? What do you do every day that you love? You know, what have you created?
Yes.
Some athletes love drawing.
Yeah.
All right.
They're artists. Micah Johnson, in particular, worked with him
right.
in the past.
That's right.
He's one of the best artists in the world. Anyway, go ahead.
Exactly.
Micah as well. Yep.
Register your works.
Yeah.
You know, look at exactly what you're doing and what you want to do. Because even if you're using your name, let's just say if you're using your name as an athlete, you can register your name as an athlete.
Okay.
But once you start moving into a different type of field or way that you're servicing people, now you can go in and amend that application to include those works.
Right.
So you can make sure that you have a well-rounded, protection around your brand. And then the next thing I would say is have a business. Now, if you're not making any money, you might not need one. But if you are making money, if you have expenses, you're going to want a business.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing about having a registered entity. Entity meaning LLC, corporation.
S corp, whatever.
Right. Okay. You want to be able to put a Chinese wall between yourself and the people that you service.
Understood.
Okay, so your personal assets is on this side, your business assets are over here, and what you're doing is isolating the liability.
Yes.
So if someone wanted to sue me and say, well, Sivonnia, you've committed legal malpractice, okay, well, you ain't coming from my house.
Yeah, you're not coming
and you ain't coming from my
Right.
car.
Yeah,
protect
You
your
know,
assets.
right.
You're
That's
going to have everything live right here in this
Yeah,
little
this
bubble.
business right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whatever you think you can get,
That's it.
half that. Exactly. But people don't recognize
They
that
don't
that's
understand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And they're always
Right.
personally
liable.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's
So-
even with business funding. A lot of people are trying to fund everything they do through everything they
Personal.
have.
Mhm.
And that Chinese wall, the reason I had to pause for is I never heard anyone say Chinese
Me
wall
neither.
before, but it made an absolute
Yeah.
great analogy. But yeah, so I appreciate that as well. But let me ask you this, not just for athletes, but the business person.
Mhm.
And not just the business person, but the senior level executive.
I love it.
Can you talk to them before we wrap up our show? What would you say to them in terms of what you've already talked about? that they can say, well, how can she help me?
Mm-hmm. For the senior level executives, now I don't know where they would be. Would they be business owners? Would they be
business
inside
owners
of a business?
more than likely, or people who are looking to become a business owner, because most likely they're already looking for the exit.
Like parallels out of corporate too.
Yes.
So in addition to what I've said, I would also speak to culture.
Okay.
So what is the culture that you're building? Because C-level executives already come with this a different level of know-how in business, you know, that we're not talking about the more elementary ideals of business. Correct. Absolutely. So I think culture is definitely important, and also understanding what your HR structure is.
Okay.
So one thing a lot of people don't know that I do is I sue a lot of businesses.
Okay. Talk
through
about
employment.
Talk about
employment issues.
Okay.
I spent 3 months in Portugal this summer, and I settled a 6-figure case while I was there.
Wow.
Employment issues.
Wow.
Right. And so when you are operating that high up, typically our C-level executives are already at the 6-figure or about to, you know, hit 7-figure mark. It's important now that you really start honing in what your operations look like and making sure that you have some real rules in place, policies and procedures to support not only just the business, but also the culture around it, so you can avoid those lawsuits from employees, because it can get extremely expensive.
Sure.
Of course.
So yeah, that would be my advice.
That's good
Definitely
advice.
Look at your company culture, look at your employee policies,
Right.
Make sure that people are really, and I'll say this too, you can have a policy even though it's not written.
Okay.
Perfect.
And you can have a spoken
norms.
policy, right, that is discriminatory. Okay, it's what you do, and don't have a written policy and not follow.
Oh yeah, because you're done then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I would definitely say look at those things.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, you have
What an
anything
honor.
else?
Yes. Where can we find you? Where can our audience find more information about you first?
Yes, I'm going to just focus on the What Are You Sporting About.
Okay.
So definitely find me on Facebook and Instagram at What Are You Sporting About.
What are you sporting about?
What are you sporting about? Oh my God, that's
Go ahead.
too long.
I know, it's a challenge. That's on purpose.
Jesus.
We got people in their car listening.
That's
I wish
right.
I was like IND. I don't know.
Here we go.
But go ahead. What?
WHATAREYOUSPORTING.
About. That's right.
What are you sporting about? And then check out the book. So you can go to prosportlawyer.com. Sportlawyer.com. You can check us out there. There's some blogs and information to support your listeners. I really hope this has been beneficial. And I'll tell you this too. In What Are You Sporting About? I talk a lot about starting from that dreamer aspect of who we are as individuals and as people, and how society, environmental, and all these other things have like torn away at us, and moving us out of the mindset of being the professional victim, the person who's constantly re-injured. We have to look at why that is happening, and then let's get some not like reassurance, but we got to get healing around that.
That was the word
right?
I was saying.
That's healing, so we can move forward in life.
Right.
And so I take the reader from being a dreamer to being in that space with the pro victim, now to empowering them to actually be the business owner that they are meant to be.
Wow.
Man.
So definitely check that out.
Guys, I'm telling you, I know after hearing Sivonnia speak, you're going to want to get to know her better.
Yes.
And you may want to use her services. It's a great thing. Trust me, we've done it. Just give a call. You can schedule online, and she can help you figure out what's best for you. Even if you don't know, or you're afraid, or you feel challenged to do it, just do it. This is what she was talking about.
That's right.
Take one step. Let someone help you take the others. Well, Mel?
Yes.
This has been a great show.
And make sure you mention that we sent you. Okay?
Oh, please. Right. Oh, yeah, you better say that.
Charles and Yvana from Aspire Higher Enterprises. The Baileys from Aspire Higher Enterprises. That's it.
I love it.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, what an honor to have you. Thank you so much for being on our show.
No,
thank you so much for really drilling in purpose and understanding what that looks like in your field, because we respect that. And thank you for helping lead others in life and legacy. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much to our audience again for tuning in. We appreciate you. We hope that this podcast added value and purpose to you. And please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this channel. We would love to have more viewers, and also love to have more impact for the hearers and listeners on our podcast. So thank you again. We also have our book. It is The Flight of Your Life, The Power of Propulsion. Let us help you navigate what that looks like. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and where books can be found. Thank you so much.